Basically, I want to stay in Brazil because I love Brazil. We do have our flaws as a country. We have very messy politics, I would say. Not everything is as I would like it to be, right? Not everything is as fair as I think it should be. We have a lot of social disparity. We have many, many, many flaws as a country, as a nation. But I believe in Brazil. I'm one of those, optimistics. I'm very optimistic about our situation, even though we are going through a lot. And because I believe that we have a lot of resources, I believe that we are a very rich country. And I love people. I love Brazilians in general. I think we are very hardworking. I think we are people that are like warriors, even though we don't have a system that helps. We don't have a lot of resources in the context of like education and things like that. We don't have a lot of that, but that makes us like fight for things. So I like Brazilians. I like the enthusiasm that Brazilian people have. Um, and also, I think there is a lot to do here. I think that we need people that are willing to work here and to make here better. And I respect so, so much people who want to go to other countries and just use their abilities to help other countries too. Because we are, even though we are separate nations and separate countries, we are humans in general. So I think it's very honorable and very nice for you to use your abilities in other countries. I respect that so much. But I also believe that our country needs people and people that are good professionals and that want to make a difference. So I want to stay here because of that also, because I love our climate. I love that we are tropical. I love that I live close to the beach. So basically, and my family is here. So the people that I am very close to are here, not just family, but friends as well, people that I grew up with. So those are my reasons. But again, this is so, 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 so personal. And I respect so much people who make the decision to live abroad because every person has a different reality. Every person, maybe to a person who doesn't have a lot of family alive anymore, or who is not so attached to friends here, or maybe this person thinks that they will have better opportunities out there, which is true, because in Brazil it's really hard for you to get good opportunities. Or maybe you enjoy their lifestyle better than our lifestyle here in Brazil. I particularly love the Brazilian lifestyle, but some people don't. So my reasons are these, but I completely respect and understand people who want to live abroad. And that's why I was telling you before, I don't intend on taking the USMLE steps anymore because of this. I want to stay here.
Your opinion is surprisingly common. I actually hear that a lot from Brazilians. For
Nice.
good or bad, we seem to really like our country and our culture. Personally, I would like to experience living in other places. I'm not sure I would like to perhaps settle permanently somewhere
Hmm.
else, but you mentioned, for example, the climate. I've never lived somewhere that snowed, so I have no idea how I would react to actually having snow during my daily routine. So I would very much like to spend like some 6 months, a year living in some different countries and see how things go, see how I match each place. And to some degree, I think you have done that because you have lived in the United States. You went there and you worked, studied like a medical student, and you went to Italy. And in your specific case, it's even more, I'm not sure I would say interesting, but perhaps interesting because you have lived previously in the United States and you are an European and Italian citizen. So I believe
Yeah.
it wouldn't be very hard for you to move to any European country if you wanted to. You are a citizen of that country.
Yes. Yes, I am Italian. I do have the Italian citizenship, and I would love to spend maybe, you know, some time in Italy, as you said, maybe a year or a year and a half. I don't know. Um, and I believe in those experiences as something that expands your way of thinking, expands your mind in a way, right? So I think it is amazing for people to have experiences abroad. I think it is very rich. I think it is really, really incredible for you to go somewhere and experience and have have the experience of knowing other people, knowing other cultures. I think this changes you in a very, very good way. Um, and perhaps I will do this some time in the future. I will have a year or maybe a year and a half of an experience abroad. But as of now, I would say that to live permanently, I would choose Brazil today because of those reasons that I said. But also because I have had many experiences abroad, even being young. Let's say young. I'm 26 now, but I feel I'm like, oh my god, I'm almost 30. But even being young, I feel that I have had a lot of experiences with moving, especially not just moving abroad. I don't know if we ever talked about this, but I have moved like from house to house and city to city, counting Brazil and the US and blah, blah, blah. I have moved 17 times. 17. So I believe that part of the reason that I chose to just stay in Brazil and not have big changes for a while, big moves and stuff like that, is because I am tired of moving. I just want to be permanently somewhere and just build my roots in one place. I just want to stay and grow old in one place. Right now, this is my goal because of who I am, because of the experiences that I had, because I have had the experience, for example, of living with snow for 2 years and 2 winters. And I didn't like it that much, although it's very nice. It's fun. I don't like having it all the time. So basically, the more experiences like this you have, the more you get to know yourself. So I think that even, this decision of like, I want to stay in Brazil and, making this decision and knowing what I want is because blessedly, I could say, because I am blessed to have had these opportunities. So even though at the times that I had these opportunities, I was mad about them. For example, moving to the US was not something that I wanted. Um, Even though when this happened, it was a big challenge and everything, it was fundamental for me. So it was um, a great learning experience. And I learned so much. I learned about myself. I learned English. So any experience that you have abroad, you will get so much more than what you give. You will just basically be. I think when we go abroad, we are kind of like a sponge. We're just absorbing, absorbing, absorbing. And then the more information you have, the easier it is for you to make decisions, I think. So I'm very thankful and very blessed because I had the opportunity to have traveled abroad. And today, this is basically what made me want to live here and know what I want a little bit more, you know?
You mentioned you decided not to take the USMLE, and
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether we mentioned that yet, but just for anyone watching, the United States Medical License Examination are a test you take both to accredit your diploma and to be selected into the hospitals, into the universities. It's different from here in Brazil, as Stephanie said, where you apply individually for each hospital. Each hospital has its own test. And I'd like to know how it is in Italy because I have no idea. But that was my next question. Did you ever consider doing residency in Italy, for example? Did it ever cross your mind? I don't even know how the process works.
Well, it has never crossed my mind. Honestly, I have never even researched about the process. I didn't ask them, but I don't want to go to Italy because one, I will get married, and as I said, it's very personal because each person has, a different life. But in my case, my fiance is in orthopedics residency and he's almost done with his residency. So I think it would be even a little bit selfish of me to ask him to throw away his residency and do it all over again somewhere else, Italy or the US or anywhere else. And also because I think that having to learn another language, I'm not fluent in Italian. I do know some words, but definitely I would have to dedicate myself to like a year or even more of studying to go there and do my residency training there. And because I don't want to live there, I believe that any place that you choose to go to residency in should be the place that you intend on living at. Because to me, it just doesn't make sense to spend 4 or 5 years in a place where you don't plan on staying. Because during residency is the time that you make the most connections in your area, the most work, for example. You do a lot of things. People get to know you, get to know your work, your personality. You get to go to conferences, you get to do things. And then to move from there and throw all of that away, I think is just not the smartest thing to do. Obviously, some people do it when they don't get to plan this much. For example, they want something right now. For example, I want to stay in Brazil right now, but then 5 years from now, I finish my residency training and I'm like, I don't want to stay in Brazil anymore. And then you move, you know? But when you already know, for example, in my situation, I already know I want to live in Brazil. I think it's just not smart of me to choose to go somewhere and like, oh, and then in 5 years I will just come back to Brazil. I think it's just not, it just doesn't make any sense. That's why I don't intend on doing residency there.
That will be a contentious opinion. I definitely see your point, but a lot of people actually do it. Go to another country, for example, for residency and then come back. And I
Yeah.
definitely see the point because it takes a lot of years. So if you are considering, for example, marrying, having children, spending time away from your parents and other relatives, well, of course it matters. It's 5, 6 years are not a blink of time. It's not
It's a lot of
some
time.
time you just spend away and then come back as if nothing had happened. But it does happen a lot in people's decisions.
Yeah. Yeah. I think this happens a lot.